Baby, I've been doing some thinking. Somebody harder thinking about you. And it seems to me a lover that what you've been doing is playing me for some fool. I got the word for you because it's what you is. You is a rat face. You is a rat face. If I had a nickel for every time you've let me down, you know beyond the shadow of a doubt, I'd be the wealthiest man in town. I've got my name for you because it's what you is. You is a rat face. You is a rat face. Guitar player's a rat face. Yeah, 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 yeah. Don't you think I know what you've been doing to me, baby, that you dating all the guys are not true. So how can you say that you will love me then? How can you ever be so true? I've got the word for you because it's what you is. You is a rat face. You is a rat face. Piano plays a rat face. Yeah, 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 yeah. My arms, they are still in need. You, I must be nuts. I still love you. I've got the word for you because it's what you is. You is a rat face. You is a rat face.
You know, I actually enjoyed this movie.
You know what? I did too.
I had this movie on DVD. I never watched it. And since you picked it, I said, well, now I'm going to finally watch it. And I kind of enjoyed it. It's a strange movie. It's called Rat-Fink a Boo Boo. And
Rat-Fink and Boo Boo? Or
no, it's Rat-Fink a Boo Boo.
A Boo Boo. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Rat-Fink a Boo Boo.
There's two stories about the title. This one story is that the people who did the title screwed up.
Yeah.
And they misspelled it, and he just left it because he thought it sounded cool. Or the other story is that his daughters kept saying Rat-Fink a Boo Boo, and he said, okay, that's a good little title. So this thing almost looks like a home movie, you know, which is what a lot of Ray Dennis Steckler's movies look like anyway. But they're professional home movies. You know, you can tell this thing was shot without sound, and they added sound afterwards.
He added it later. You could tell because suddenly you'll hear dialogue, and you know none of the actors are moving their mouths.
Yeah, and this was shot in black and white, but I guess later on he tinted some of the sections or whatever. So this is a very oddball movie, as are all his movies. There's The Thrill Killers, which was kind of like pretty cool actually. It was it was more down and dirty, whatchamacallit, murders kind of movie. He worked on a movie called The Sadist, I believe, that was pretty good with this guy called Arch Hall Jr. We'll talk about later about him. And then The Incredibly Strange Mixed Up Creatures, this. And he did one called The Lemon Grove Kids, Meet the Monsters, with a lot of the people in this movie, and it's a takeoff on The Bowery Boys.
Oh, was he really? Oh, we'll have to watch that one.
And the director, Ray Steckler, he looks like Huntz Hall. So he puts on a cap and...
He's tall, thin, gangly. He's got that big nose.
Yeah. And he went under the name Cash Flag.
yeah, that's right, Cash Flag. That was his name his acting name.
Yeah, he went under the name Cash Flag, and the guy, one of the bad guys, played Leo Gorcey. You know, the Leo Gorcey character. What's his face? Huntz Hall was what was his name? I forgot his name, but the other guy was Slip or something like that, Slip or whatever. And
Slip, Mahoney, and Satch.
Satch was Huntz Hall, and Slip was Leo Gorcey. The guy who always mispronounced the words, like Norm Crosby or whatever. I love those movies, man. I remember watching them like on Sundays in the afternoon on the local TV set.
Yeah, they were fun.
TV channel, the Bowery Boys movies and all that stuff. But a Lemon Grove Kids is pretty good. It's a bunch of shorts, but it's in the same kind of look to these, except they're, more fun, maybe, lighthearted. But there is one where you meet the monsters, and that's pretty cool. The main woman in this, the CB, that's Carolyn Brandt. That was
that's his wife.
That was his wife. Yeah, they got divorced, and she was in all his, B movies. He later on, like in the 70s, went on to do porn because these movies were not making him any money in the drive-in, so that would make him money. So he did. I've never seen any of those. From what I understand, though, he divorced his wife, but she narrated or she did voiceovers on some of the porn stuff. So I'm like, that's kind of weird.
That's odd, yeah.
That's kind of strange, but it is what it is, But these movies that he did, and actually one of them, when I was a kid, is another one of my when I was a kid old man story or whatever. When I was a kid back in the old days, the local theater had a promotion for a midnight show, and it was like Maniacs Are Loose or something like that, and it was like, midnight Friday, come in the theater. We're going to have a special showing of the movie Maniacs Are Loose, and real live maniacs are going to be coming out and attacking you or whatever. And that was one of his movies. That's The Thrill Killers. And me and my friend were going to go see it. I mean, we were just like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And we were at home, and it was like 11 o'clock, and I was like, you want to go? And my friend's like, nah, let's just watch B movies on television. We didn't go. I kicked myself for not going. I would have loved to have seen that, but it was one of these like movies. It was one of those like, I guess they used to call them spook shows, kind of, where they used to have them where you go Dr. Zombo's spook show, where they would do some magic tricks and they just show you a movie, and then people would run out in the audience and scare you. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, it was a phenomenon. They were sort of trying to bring the horror movie host atmosphere into the movie theater.
It was actually before. They were started before
I know William Castle used to do a lot.
Yeah,
of
William
stuff
Castle
like
did that, but those spook shows were started before the horror host, and then they kept going on through the 60s, through the 70s, I guess. But usually they were in like little rural towns. They weren't like in Miami, but this one was when it was in Miami, so it's like, and the theater was only like a block away, but I don't know, we either decided not to see it or we just said, I don't feel like walking at dark or whatever. My parents maybe didn't want to take us. I don't know, because it would have ended at 2 a.m. Yeah. I mean, by the time I was 17 and my friends had cars, that was no problem. But when I was 12 or 13 and my parents would have to take me, and I was like, that could be a problem, So anyway, we didn't go. I regret it, but that's just the way it goes,
It's funny you're talking about like these little rural movie theaters. I mean, movie theaters used to be everywhere.
Yep.
And there were some, like the one I used to go to, the Sanders, was big, and it probably sat a couple of hundred people. But some movie theaters were really small, and maybe 50 seats, 60 seats.
Really?
Yeah. Some of the small, because there's some movie theaters still around here in up in like rural. Because Pennsylvania's very, except for like Philly.
Parts of it, yeah.
It's very rural. So they're reviving some old movie theaters. I mean, they don't have a lot of seats in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I remember going on vacation once to a really rural town, and they would show movies on the weekends. They would set up folding chairs in like the main hall of the county building, and then they'd get like a projector, like you would for filming home movies. They put that up, and they literally had a copy, and then they put it on a projector, and that's how they watched the movies. It was so. So lackadaisical.
We kind of lived in the tail end of the old world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it was the tail end, but we got like a taste of it,
Yeah.
We weren't like, it wasn't like we were going to the theater every week and saw Serial and then, newsreel. We were already past that. But we were in the kind of like the last vestiges. There was still a little bit of it floating around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I can remember going to see a double feature, and between the double feature, there would usually be a cartoon or something.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, and you'd stay for for both movies, and if you missed the beginning of one movie, they'd allow you to sit there and to catch the part you missed, you know, and because they kept doing repeat showings.
Yeah. I remember seeing, like, when the one time I went to the Kiddie Summer Movie Club, they would do that. But I just remember seeing a lot of trailers. Very rarely did they play a cartoon, but I did see it once or twice, like a Warner Brothers cartoon or something like that. So, yeah. No, those were the days, man. You know, with the double features and the. I don't even know if they have double features anymore, do they? I doubt it. The movies are so long now.
Yeah, 2 hours. For some, or 6, and depending on the movie and the director, and just.
You know, it's funny. I've got the movie on in the background with no sound on it, and it's like there's some scenes in this movie where you see like some side boob here. You know what I mean? On Carolyn and Brandt. You know, it's like, and then it turns into a kiddie movie.
Yeah,
it's a strange movie. I think this played in theaters.
Really, like, serious and dramatic, and then it suddenly shifts. Into like a goofy kiddie movie.
Well, you know what I read was that the director, halfway through the movie, he just changed his mind and said, "Let's make this into a superhero movie." It's like, that's how goofball this was. It's like, we're making a serious crime movie. Let's make a kiddie movie. How about it? You know, and stuff like that. And so I also read that this whole idea of, you know, Carolyn Brandt or CB Beaumont, or whatever they called her, with the obscene phone calls, that was happening to her in real life. So that's kind of like, yeah. So that was. I mean, I don't think anybody came and kidnapped her, but she was getting obscene phone calls. So that led to a plot, you know, thing inside this movie or whatever. Yeah, it's very interesting. I read that in Wikipedia, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not all, you know, made up. There was some little grain, a little kernel of you know.
He could have said based on the true story.
Yeah, based on a true story of like two superhero guys that are like. Yeah. and I like when the one guy, a Boo Boo, you know, gets bonked on the head with a hammer, and all he needs is like.
Yeah, an ice pack.
Oh my God, this movie is so. I've seen lobby cards for it, so it's played somewhere. I can't believe this played in the theater, but I'm thinking it played on the double bill. But you know, some of it's not for kids like that. Okay, the movie starts out with a woman walking around at night.
Yeah, she just gets out of a bar or work.
I keep seeing the Schwinn bike shop too, and I'm like, oh, yes. Schwinn, yeah, you know, maybe they gave him some money because he keeps prominently showing the Schwinn sign there. But anyway, and like these three thugs with cackling laughs come after her.
Yeah, they're chasing her. One guy has a chain, one guy has a hammer, and the other guy jumps around a lot.
Yeah.
Leaps or something. So they chase her. They corner her in a blind alley, and you think they're gonna rape her, but actually they just the guy with the chain strangles her to unconsciousness, and then
they steal her purse,
steal her money, and then run away. And then she's, you know, ooh.
And then it's kind of psychedelic. There's all these like ooh, like what she's doing, and then it kind of cuts to the titles. And then it becomes like you see this singer, and he's doing like a musical number at a carnival or whatever. Then you see, you know, Carolyn Brandt or whatever, and they're like having a little musical number, and they're dancing around in the carnival.
They're running on the beat, and there's a lot of running in this movie.
And there's about 4 or 5 songs too.
Walking, just.
There's a lot of running, there's a lot of car chasing, and there's a lot of songs. There's about 4 or 5 songs in this, and they're all the way through too. You know what I mean? This isn't just but by Lonnie Lord, who was played by Vince Saxon or something, who's
Yeah,
really...
I think it said in the beginning, and introducing Vince Saxon. Okay.
Who's really Ron Haydock, who was he was one of the early fan people that kind of in L.A. along with one of them was probably Don Glut, Jim Harmon, and then the gorilla was played by Bob Burns, who was that was Bob Burns as Kogar, the gorilla, that was Bob Burns in that thing. So it was like all these fans, and they kind of like congregated with Forrest Ackerman, and they became part of like I guess they wrote, but Haydock, Lonnie Lord in this movie, or Vince Saxon or whatever, he was friends with them, and then he decided he was going to go off and make his own magazine, and apparently like Forrest Ackerman like hated him till his death. He died years later, and I think it was in a car accident. I'm not 100% sure, but he passed away, and he made like a real enemy of Forrest Ackerman. But I think he published a magazine called Fantastic Monsters of the Films. And he put out singles. I mean, this stuff, believe it or not, people say anyway, I've never seen it, came out as an album back then, like Ron Haydock and the Boppers or something like that. So
that I could believe.
So, and the other guy, Titus Moody, the guy who plays Boo Boo, he made movies too. I think he was just like I'm not sure how many movies I didn't really look him up, I should have, but he was mostly a peripheral guy, but he was alive as of a few years ago, and he was in like B movies, bit parts or whatever, but some strange people. And Carolyn Brandt, I believe she just made movies with what's his face, Steckler. I don't think she did it, but she's actually looks cute in this movie. In The Incredibly Strange Creature, she looked a little weird, but in this one she looks kind of cute, so I kind of like her in this movie, you know what I mean?
There was another movie where I think she plays a stripper or a dancer or something at a carnival.
That's The Incredibly Strange Creatures who died and became mixed up zombies. She looks different in that one. Yeah, he did another one called The Hollywood Strangler meets the Skid Row Slasher, and that one's real bad. That is bad, but it's kind of funny though. But that would have been the real stinker, but she's in that too. And then another one that's like silent but narration and whatever. I think the Lemon Grove Kids one was shot with sound. I think it was. Right. She's in all of them though. She's in that one. So anyway, so then it cuts to the carnival on a merry-go-round and Lonnie Lord singing this song, and she's with them, and they're all having a happy time, and they're
dancing and running, and playing songs and dancing on rocks and running
and dancing and running,
and then they're running again. So then he drops her off, and he says, I'm going to pick you up. Do you want me to pick you up at a party? Oh no, I'll get that. So she goes in, and then you see the three guys. They're sitting around, they're bored. So they pick a name out of a phone book because they want to get money. So he goes, here, pick a name of a chick out of a phone book. So they pick CB's number.
CB Boma, yeah.
CB. And they start doing like obscene phone calls to her. Well, not obscene, but just
threatening, evil, nasty phone calls, scary phone calls.
Yeah. So then at one point, they wake her up at night, and the jumpy guy, he's at her screen door banging on it when she wakes up, and she's freaking out. And then there's another scene where she had to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, and that's where
Titus, the handyman.
Yeah, and that's when she was thinking about, where's my card? He's like, it's still in the shop.
To pick us up from the shop or something.
Yeah.
Just keep walking, and so you see 5 minutes of her walking.
Yes.
Being followed by the chain guy.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he sits down and waits. She goes into a grocery store. He sits down and waits for her. And then she comes out with a bag of groceries, and she's walking up the street. And then he starts to follow her for a little bit, and then walks off for some reason.
Yeah, and there's some cool jazz music going on in the background, too, so that's kind of fun or whatever. The thing is, when she's walking, you do get a lot of nice shots of her derriere, so it's not bad, you know what I mean?
No,
Could
it's
have been
not
worse.
bad,
Could have
but
been worse.
it's a lot. It's a lot of walking.
It's a lot of walking.
I think we walked the whole way with her from her apartment to the grocery store.
I think it's an exact time. And I like how like Mr. Chain Guy is like his pants are like right above his socks, so that's really cool, you know.
And they're very white, and he has very white socks and very white sneakers. So he's a very neat.
He's a very neat guy.
Yeah, very neat. He's a hoodlum with a germ phobia.
Something like that. So then what? She goes back home and she starts getting more calls.
More threatening calls. There's a scene with her in the bathtub, and you see some
side
shots. Yes.
Yes.
And in fact, I had to log in to YouTube to prove I was over 21 to watch this version I watched.
Were you able to prove it?
Yes, I was able to.
Okay.
They didn't ask for my mental age, so I was okay.
Okay. They didn't want like Social Security or anything like that. Okay. I was just checking,
So they're at the party dancing, and what's his name? Lloyd?
Lonnie Lord.
Lonnie. And he's singing the song Rat Fink.
The Rat Fink song,
You see people dancing, Rat Fink, yeah. And then people jumping into the pool, and everybody's having a fun time. And then some guy goes out. I assume this is at Lloyd's house. So some guy goes out and like waves CB down and says, "Hey, you got a phone call." So she picks up and she's listening. And in the meantime, Lloyd, he finished the song. He follows her in. And she, you don't hear what's on the phone, but she gets all upset, plants the phone down and runs out, gets in her car, drives home. And the bad guys are waiting there, and they kidnap her.
Well, and again, that's when they get into a fight with Titus.
They get into a fight with Titus. They hit him on the head with a hammer, which he miraculously survives.
Yeah.
And then they tell him to don't call.
Let Lonnie Lord know that they kidnapped her or whatever.
Yes. So Lonnie comes, and they're sitting by the phone waiting. And they drive, and you see them driving, and there's a lot of them, weird scenes with them. Come on, baby. And the other guy's going, shut up, and slaps her. And the guy jumping in the back, he's in the back jumping on the truck. And then, Lloyd and Titus.
We get another song, and a sad song.
Yeah, they're waiting for the kidnappers to call. So you get a full song about how lonely he is or whatever. And he's singing to a picture. And meanwhile, Titus is holding a bag of ice to his hammer-crushed head.
Yeah.
So,
Titus has a thick skull, obviously.
Exactly. So, the one guy called Jumpy calls them and says, "If you deliver
50 grand
by tonight, or the girl gets it." And she's like, "I can't get 50 tonight." She says, "Well, it's got to be tonight, or the girl gets it." So he hangs up and he goes, "Okay."
He tells them to put it in a dumpster or something.
Yeah, put in the briefcase in a dumpster.
A dumpster on this street or whatever.
Yeah. So then he goes, "This is a job for."
And they go into a room.
They jump into a closet, and then you hear noises like, "Ooh, ow, you're on my toe." "Well, who's on my toe?" And, and I can't open the door, so they jump out. It's Rat Fink and Boo Boo. And Rat Fink, he's got like a leotard on with a big R on his chest. He's wearing
a wool hat pulled down.
A ski hat pulled down with just the eyes and the mouth. He's got a little pom-pom on top. And Boo Boo, I don't know what the hell Boo Boo. He's wearing leotards, knee pads. He's got a mask that looks like it was cut out of a scrap of cloth.
And he's got two little blinking lights.
Yeah, he got this tiger hat on that ties around his chin. It's got these two long ears and there's little blinking lights at the ends. And there's like, oh no, it's time for Rat Fink and Boo Boo, our own. He said something. Our own.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They went on, the America for America and justice and all this stuff.
It's something like our only. Not kryptonite. I said our only weakness, bullets.
Oh, is that what? I couldn't understand what he said. It's bullets. Okay. All right.
But then they jump in they get on they have a motorcycle and a sidecar, so Boo Boo's driving the motorcycle, and Rat Fink's standing in the sidecar, and he's posing, and at first it looked like they're flying. And you hear that Superman wind rushing sound. But then you see it's them riding on a motorcycle in the sidecar, and Boo Boo's driving the motorcycle, and Rat Fink's it's a little small sidecar. Rat Fink's standing in it. He's standing up, pointing forward. He's holding his cape so it blows in the wind. So they get there. They put the briefcase in the dumpster, and then they're hiding. They're waiting. So then Jumpy comes to pick up the money. He gets trapped in the dumpster. So some guy comes out of the bar.
No, don't they get into some kind of a fight there or something like that and leave him in the dumpster or something like that? Or does he stay? I thought there was something,
I think he got stuck. They were hiding and they were going to follow him. So
he gets stuck in the dumpster, okay.
Yeah, he gets stuck in the dumpster, and some drunk comes out of the bar and opens the dumpster up to let him out. So he gets out, gets in his truck, and drives away.
And they follow him.
Yeah, Rat Fink and Boo Boo follow him, and the guy who let him out, he runs back and jumps in the dumpster and closes it. So they follow them to the bad guys' hideout. And the bad guys, they open the case. They're in the backyard. They open the case, and they see that instead of money, it's got comic books.
It's got Monster World magazine in it.
Yeah, I saw that. That was like, ooh. So then Rat Fink and Boo Boo come in, jump, and there's a big fight. And the guy who had the hammer, he got hit once, and it kept falling down. He couldn't get up. And meanwhile, the chain guy's fighting Rat Fink. The jumpy guy's fighting Boo Boo. They're going back and forth. There's one scene where Boo Boo goes to jump on the jumpy guy, and he miscalculates and lands down. Then he's checking his watch to see if it's running. So the jumpy guy, takes the watch from him and, he steps on it a couple of times. And, it's working now. Gives it back to Boo Boo. Boo Boo puts it on and gives him a thumbs up, and then Jumpy punches him. It's really bad fight scenes. Just
going on and on, like fighting.
Yeah, on and on. Yeah, on and on and on. And then sometimes you see pictures of Carol Brandt going, ooh, ah, oh, ooh, with their hands near her mouth.
Yeah, you're right. I'm watching it right now. Yeah, the black guy, the jumpy gets stuck in there, and then let him out. Yeah, you're right. I thought they fought, but the fight isn't. That's what you're talking about. The fight is when they get to the house of the bad guys, and then two of them get away.
Yeah.
The one guy, they stop him and they chain him right to the.
Yeah, that's the hammer. They chain the hammer to the house, the banister.
Yeah.
I mean, that looked poorly made. It looked like if you sneezed, it would fall down.
Oh yeah, wow.
And they had pigeons in the back. The guy had kept pigeons, I guess homing pigeons or something. So the two guys get away with the girl in the truck. So
and then you get a 5-minute chase scene throughout Hollywood Hills.
Yeah. Or
actually whatever part of Hollywood.
Yeah, wherever they were. Literally. I mean, they're going fast, they're going around, and then, didn't see. And at one point, you see Rat Fink and Boo Boo come around a curve, and then you see the truck behind them. And you're like, what? And then they're back again where Rat Fink and Boo Boo are chasing them. They cut the bad guys go through a stop sign. Rat Fink and Boo Boo pull up to the stop sign, stop, and then they both look both ways before they continue on the chase. And then they go up a dirt road, and they get stuck in the dirt.
And they get a flat tire.
Yeah. Something happens.
Yeah, they got a flat.
So they get out and they're dragging the girl away, and Rat Fink and Boo Boo pull up, and they're chasing them. Meanwhile, you see this guy in a derby. He's walking around with a chain and an empty collar going, Kogar, come on, Kogar. They go, stop hiding, I'm Daddy, Kogar. And you don't know what Kogar is yet. So then Rat Fink and Boo Boo catch up to the bad guys, and then, again, there's more fighting, back and forth. It's the chain guys fighting
And then on the side, Kogar shows up and
Yes.
CB, and
Gorilla.
they're like watching the fight, and they're like going like, hey, yeah, good fight.
Yes, yes. So you see, as they're fighting, and it was a long fight too. It was like another 5
Everything
minutes.
takes forever, but it's
You see Carol there, and she's like throwing mock punches, going, get him, Ratfink. And then the gorilla comes up behind her, and he's looking, and he's also throwing fake punches. But then Carol suddenly like turns around because she feels his presence, and she faints, and Kogar carries her away.
and then Ratfink and Boo Boo knock out the bad guys.
Right. And then the guy with the derby comes up and says, can you tell the girl to bring back my gorilla?
Yeah, right.
So then Ratfink says, Boo Boo, you stay here with the bad guys. I'll go after the girl. So he goes, him and the derby guy go running up after Kogar. So Kogar gets up on top of a hill and puts the girl down, and then Ratfink and the gorilla are fighting each other. So the gorilla knocks out Ratfink, who falls back. And then the guy with the derby comes and says, Kogar, you stop playing around now. Come on, we have to go home. So the derby guy and the gorilla go walking off, and the girl runs over, oh, Ratfink, my hero. So then he pulls off the ski mask, and he goes, it's
Lonnie Lord.
Lonnie, you are my hero. And they kiss. And then at the end, there's this big, you see this big parade. It looks like a parade in a small town. You got the drum majorettes and the high school band. You got the fire trucks and the policemen driving by waving. And then it comes up Ratfink and Boo Boo.
And everybody's cheering them, yeah, Ratfink.
Cycle. And then you hear, and they dubbed this over because it's probably filmed in silent movie. You hear, oh, Ratfink's my hero. Yay, there he is. Oh, he's so handsome. I love you, Ratfink. And Carol's on the back, and she's waving too. And
I mean, you know what they did, right? They just crashed the parade.
Yes, they just crashed the parade.
They just crashed the parade, got in the middle of it, had somebody filming it, and just took advantage of,
Yeah. So.
So then you get another song and video at the end. After the parade's over, you get another song, and everybody's on the beach, and they're dancing and
singing, and then a bunch of people are looking at a Ratfink and Boo Boo comic book.
That's right. Yeah.
Will come running up, and they're all laughing, and there's some guy taking pictures of a girl in a bikini.
And then you get a recap of the movie at the end, kind of, sort of. Because this movie is all padding, but it's enjoyable, but it's all padding. The fight scenes are too long, the chases are too long, the music videos are like, well, they're like 2 minutes each, but you get like at least 10 or 12 minutes of music in this.
Yes. This movie probably could have been cut in half and still be...
This movie was so padded for 72 minutes or whatever, it was unbelievable. But somehow or another, if you're in the right state of mind, it's fun.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It moves.
A lot of fun, not meant to be taken seriously.
Not at all, no. It's almost like it becomes a comedy at the end or whatever, you know. When they start throwing gorillas in there, I'm like, oh, yeah. It was just whatever we can find, we'll just throw in this movie and it'll make sense, don't worry, you know. It's Ratfink and Boo Boo. It's going to make sense.
It'll work.
Oh, what a crazy movie.
It was a hell of a lot of fun, though.
It's on YouTube, and it's a pretty good copy. I've got it on the background there, you know. It doesn't look bad at all, you know. It says DVD rip. Probably.
Yeah, it's the one I watched.
This Steckler kind of got notoriety through, well, the first time I read about him was back in the 70s. Somebody gave me a bunch of Castle Frankenstein monster magazines. A friend of mine, was it Ed? It wasn't Ed. Ed gave me Famous Monsters. I can't remember who it was, but I remember when I was a kid I got a box of comics and magazines, and there was about 4 or 5 Castle Frankensteins, and I was just looking through them, and they had movie reviews, and they were talking about these movies, and I'm like, Ray Dennis Steckler, I never even heard of this. And then it wasn't until like the video boom of the 80s where they started rediscovering these movies, and then he kind of got famous, infamous again. You know, but I remember reading about these in the 70s, and you couldn't see these on TV. So it was just like, what the hell? Little did you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 years later, they would be on video. And I remember my friend and I, there was a company, I think it was called, what was it they called, Video Wasteland or something? But back in the early 80s,
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
you wouldn't see these movies generally in video stores, but there was a company that rented them through the mail. So I remember, like, we got a catalog, we saw these movies, and he rented them through the mail. And you would get it, you'd have a day or two to watch it or record it, and then send it back, and then get another one. So that's the first time I saw, probably like late 80s, I saw these things, and I'm like, whoa, these are weird. I mean, they were funny, but it was like, wow, they weren't kidding. These were low budget, or no budget or whatever.
Yeah,
So he kind of became famous. Then there was this show around the same time, maybe early 90s, and it was on remember Discovery Channel? It might still be around, I don't even know, but there was this channel called Discovery Channel, and they showed a series called The Incredibly Strange Film Show.
Was that Discovery Channel?
There was Discovery Channel, yeah, I think it was Discovery Channel.
Because I remember that incredibly
Strange Film Show.
Yeah, I remember the show. Because Discovery is right. Well, there is a Discovery Channel, but it's usually nature stuff and exploration.
I seem to remember that. It could have been the history. I don't know. I think it was whatever.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
I'm not sure right now, but I remember it was a British show they brought over here, and it was hosted by that guy Jonathan Ross, who's got a little bit of a, he can't say R's, so he says like Jonathan Wass or whatever. But he's pretty famous.
Yes.
But he's pretty famous now. I mean, he's got a big talk show in England. They did a show on Santo movies, on Ray Dennis Steckler, H.G. Lewis, Fred Olin Ray, Doris Wishman.
Yeah.
Kung Fu movies, and the Steckler one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I first started watching. That's where I saw more of these, and they talked to him, and you know, you had a video store, and after he got through with his career of porn or whatever, he ran a video store in. I think it was in Vegas, and he sold all his movies there, among other movies. So that's where he made, towards the end of his life, I guess. That's where he kind of like was or whatever. He was always talking about that, and he was being interviewed a lot. Before there was a show called The Incredibly Strange Film Shows, there was a book that came out, and I bought it like in the 80s. It was called Incredibly Strange Films, and it was put out by for lack of a better, you know, it was put out by somewhat of a hipster company that did like, you know, books for like hipsters back in the, whatever hipsters were back in the 80s. And I know they did one on like music, like oddball, cult movie stuff. You know what I mean? And they had I believe they had a chapter on him too. So he started getting notoriety like in the 80s or whatever when video and people were starting to see this stuff. But, you know, I bought this on DVD a while ago, but I never really watched it. The Lemon Grove Kids I watched, and I enjoyed that. I watched the Thrill Killers. That was fun. And the Hollywood Strangler meets a Skid Row Slasher. That was strange. That was another one of those that we rented from, I think it was Video Wasteland or something like that. But yeah. Steckler's, but I never got around to seeing this until now for some reason. You know, half the time I would buy stuff, and it would just sit there. And then it was like the only times I would watch it was like somebody came over.
Yeah.
It almost felt like I read so much about this movie. I'd seen it already, but seeing it is more enjoyable. You know what I mean?
That's where I learned about it, and that's incredibly strange.
So you watched those back in the 90s or whatever.
And I remember seeing it, and they looked interesting. And I think they did a whole thing about a bunch of his movies. So anytime I would see one, I would like his movie, because when I had Apple TV, you got some of those free streaming channels like Crackle and Tubi and whatever. And so sometimes you would see those movies and you could stream them for free, and you'd watch them. You go, what the hell am I watching? If you're not used to this genre, it's a shock. I'm like, wow, this is really low budget. I mean, this makes the guy who did Plan 9, what the hell is his name?
Ed Wood.
Ed Wood. It makes Ed Wood look a little more professional sometimes.
Sometimes.
Pretty bad too.
Sometimes. These movies are really well. These movies play really well, like at late at night. You
Yes.
know, when you're kind of tired or maybe a little bit out of it, they start to make sense. When you're kind of like in your subconscious state of mind is starting to, you know, when you're fully awake, it's like, what the hell is this? But when you're a little bit,
The day is not the best, but at night, maybe you come home from the bar, you're still a little tipsy.
yeah,
You know, you're eating. You stopped off at the fast food joint and you're eating your hamburger and fries, and you're the perfect time to watch it.
God, yeah. Well, that's what it was like when we got cable and we started getting WOR. You started seeing all these weird movies. You know what? You know who played weird movies too in the early days? USA Network. They used to play weird stuff.
That's the one that had Commander USA, right?
Yeah, Commander USA. They had what was that thing they had at the on the weekends on Saturday nights? They had
Up All Night.
They had Up All Night, but then they had it was called something else. I can't think of it right now. It was called. They used to have they used to show movies. They used to show concerts. They would show like a new wave theater. Oh, I can't think of the name right now. I'm seeing the logo, but I can't think of the name right now.
Yeah. I remember. Oh, what the hell was it called?
I know. Oh, it was called. I can't think of it right now. Somebody who's listening to this is going to go, it's this, but I can't.
It's pretty good. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, that happens a lot. A channel starts up because they don't have a lot of money. They get a lot of cheap stuff.
Night
like
Flight.
Kind of movies, early.
It was called Night Flight.
Night Flight. That's it. Yes.
It just hit me right now. Night Flight. It was on Saturday nights. They would show the weirdest stuff. But yeah, you're right. When a channel starts out, they don't have money, so they just get the cheapest stuff they can find.
Which is a lot of fun to watch. But then as they get more money and revenue, they start getting the same old crap everybody else gets.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've already seen this stuff 100 times. I don't want to see it again.
The worst, one of the worst, two of the worst, Sci-Fi Channel. They were really great at the beginning when they had all these B movies, and then when they started doing their, productions, and now forget it. I don't even go near the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, it had I was flipping around and it's like, on the guide, it's like Sci-Fi Channel, Enemy of the State. Like, Enemy of the State? How's that a science fiction movie?
The other one was AMC. AMC American Movie Classics was great. They would only have one commercial or no commercials. And then so all of a sudden some guy became their program director and decided to turn it into a commercial channel. Yeah. And then they started playing all this crap. I mean, I'm guessing every once in a while they'll play like a B movie or something, but they just ruined it by putting all these commercials on because, there's plenty of commercial channels, like over-the-air channels that we get that show B movies, but you already know that they're going to show it. But when AMC went from no commercials, which was great, to constant commercials, I was like, oh my God. Turner still good. Turner Classic Movies still good. I mean, they still play oddball things.
Yeah, they do have some good movies sometimes.
Yeah, they play B movies. I mean, I recorded one the other day called Unholy Rollers about roller derby. It's like, oh man. It was a perfect 70s exploitation movie. It made no sense. Violent, nudity, music. It was perfect, but it is what it is. With Claudia Jennings, but yeah, they'll still play stuff like that. Besides the 9 millionth showing of Casablanca, which I think they show every month, and Citizen Kane every month. Said, okay, fine, we'll put up with that. But they do show cool movies. I mean, I recorded stuff on there that. I recorded it just to see if they had a different version of it than the one that I had already, but a lot of them are pretty much the same. But yeah, good AMC and Sci-Fi and USA. USA was so cool in the 80s.
Well, yeah, you used to have really great movies. You had a lot of, they would play a lot of those B horror science fiction movies and stuff. They had Joe Bob Briggs.
Yeah, Joe Bob Briggs. Yeah.
she's all right, but at least she was kind of cheesecakey.
Oh, Rhonda Shear, yeah, and then they replaced her with Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah,
But you know what I didn't like about that show? It seemed pointless to me because it was like, okay, we're going to show you TNA movies without the TNA. I'm like, really? Kind of missing the point there, you know, but people loved it, you know.
Joe Bob Briggs was much better because he kind of left a little bit of that in.
He started out on the movie channel, and
Did he really?
yeah, he started on the movie channel, and I only saw a little bit of once, and they would show an edited movie, like they would show the Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, but then after the movie channel, he went to TNT, and then he did the Monster Vision stuff, you know, for years, which was cool. I recorded. TNT was really good back then too, because they used to have on the weekends 100% Weird, and they would show a bunch of, you know, B movies.
Yeah, that's, you know, they used to do a lot more original weirdo content.
Yes.
On these channels, when, like in cable, and then that stopped, and that everything, even the Weather Channel went commercial. Because you put the Weather Channel on, you would get the weather, you know, your local, regional, and international weather. And that's all you really wanted. Now you put it on, they have Storm of the Century, and
yeah.
you know, different shows. I'm like, why am I watching the show on the Weather Channel? I just want to know what the weather is.
What I noticed about the Weather Channel is that, like, a lot of times they'll have, like, you know, decent looking women in tight dresses, and you're like, that's
the only
redeeming factor there. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay.
That's the only reason to watch the.
Because, you know, the Weather Channel, it's like we don't have a local channel here. So you get your weather channel, you get your weather from the Weather Channel, or Yahoo will tell you. So it's not like we have, like, you know, our local channels on cable are from Orlando.
Wow.
90 miles away.
Wow.
So that's our local. So yeah, you know, it's like.
Awesome.
So I do have to watch the Weather Channel to see what the weather's gonna be. Or Yahoo gives you your local weather, and they have like a little. They're usually pretty good too, but yeah. No, Turner's still good, and that's about it, man. I can't think of any other one. I can't think of any other channel from back then that's still good. I mean, it is 30 or 40. It is 30 years, or maybe more, 35. But
yeah, Jesus, wow.
I mean, USA. I remember one night when I first got cable, my parents were out or whatever, and we only used to get like 2 channels that were on all night. You know, the UHF channels would be on all night. And I'm talking about the early 80s. The over-the-air channels, you know, they'd be the networks and the whatever. They'd be done by 1 or 2. Yeah. So I would watch movies all night. You know, I was like, oh man, they're showing a movie, and we had WR, we had CBS, we had USA, we had a couple of other ones, but USA would be showing, like, one Friday night the Vampire Men of the Lost Planet. I'm like, what? And that's a Al Adamson movie called Horror of the Blood Monsters, and they're showing it on prime time Friday night. I'm going like, this is great.
Yeah, I know.
This is great. You know,
yes.
It was gone after about 5 more years when they became, like you said, when they started to get commercial and started bringing in revenue. They probably said, well, we better, you know, become more respectable because, you know, we want to make more money or whatever. You know, whatever. There was a channel, and they changed already, and it was over the air channel. It's called Comet TV, and
yeah. If I put my antenna up, I can get it here too.
When they started out, they were showing a lot of, and they still show a lot of cheapo B movies, but they're starting to do a lot. A lot of it is now Stargate, SG-1, and all the Star Treks and all that. So they're getting more mainstream, I think is the word or whatever. But originally they were like, and the reason I couldn't get them over the air, but I found out that on Roku there's an app for Comet TV, so I clicked on it and I get the channel. So I was like, okay, well, you know, we can watch it, but there's nothing to watch that I care about on there anymore, you know. So it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, that's the way things change. Whenever there's a new format usually some channels start off with the cheap stuff, and by a year or two they go to pretty much mainstream.
That's why I like Tubi sometimes. That's a streaming app I can get on my TV. And they sometimes have really weird, bizarre, B movies, and sometimes even worse.
I think some of the Don Bluth movies are on Tubi. I remember seeing Tales of Frankenstein on there, and I think I Was a Teenage Movie Maker might be on there too. I'm not sure if they're still on there or not, but I remember watching one of them.
I saw Dinosaur Valley Girls.
Yeah, yeah.
On one of those channels too.
Yeah, Tubi does show commercials, but they do have oddball, things on it or whatever. But so you got like a Roku TV or something like that, right?
Yeah. I got it from my in-laws. I just have to figure out how to get their password, because I don't remember what the hell it is.
Oh, you figured it out, huh?
No, not yet. I'm still searching for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
My mother had a habit of writing her passwords onto little slips of paper and then slipping it into a book or an envelope. So you have like a big stack of papers, and you're like, what does all this do?
Yeah,
and she can never remember her password.
Yeah, well, but yeah, those streaming channels do have cool movies. There was a streaming channel, I can't remember what it was called, but by the time I moved here, I think they got 86th or whatever. But all they showed was weird Italian 70s thrillers and gore or whatever. So the gore stuff I didn't like, but they repeated a lot, but they were really good and they were commercial free. But I think they got 86th, because it was like somebody said, "Hey, you're showing stuff that you're not paying for, guys. So, you got to go bye-bye." That was the other thing too. There was a lot of Roku channels, oddball ones, that kind of came and went. You know what I mean? Like if you go to the Roku and you went to the channel search and you clicked in free channels, you used to get like, nowadays they seem to be. You click on the monster channel, this channel, the horror channel, the classic horror channel, and they all seem to be the same movies. But there was one I remember called Zombie TV. And it wasn't about zombie movies, it was about horror movies. But they would show you the B movies, but then they would have like those something weird, sexy clips where they showed the girl like, that stuff, and it was like, wow, they got those on here too. No, they got canned too. They got gone too. So it's like, man, all the good stuff is gone. Oh well.
All the fun stuff.
And the stuff that looks fun, you got to pay for. Like.
Well, I don't watch broadcast TV anymore.
You don't, huh? You don't have cable or anything?
Oh, I have cable. I just don't watch it. It's just there's nothing on that interests me.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't really feel like going on to Netflix or Hulu or whatever to follow those movies.
You got to pay for you got to pay for those now.
Yeah, you got to pay for those, and they look great. But after a while, it's like, hey, I don't want to watch. I want to watch a movie. I don't want to watch a serial that I have to find out what's going on every week, and they get added a lot too. Like I never watched Game of Thrones.
Me neither.
It looked interesting, but
the thing too about it is my mom watches a lot of those Hallmark, murders and mysteries.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm drawing, I'm in the living room, she's watching it, I'm like on the computer drawing or whatever. And I look at them, and Mom goes, "Man, they're repeating these over and over again." That's the other thing too. They just keep repeating the same
stuff.
The same stuff. 'Cause like Turner Classic keeps repeating movies all the time, And I'm like, you got to get a new package of. But they'll probably tell you, well, we got all the good stuff. All that's left is, the stuff you like, and I don't know if our people will like this. I don't know if like. Well, that's the thing too. My friend used to work at a TV station, and they used to have B movies. And he one day found a B movie, Super Argo, like a superhero wrestler guy. Yeah. And he goes, "Oh, you got this? Play it." And the program director goes, "Oh, this is good. You recommend it?" "Yeah, play it." So the program director plays it like at 12 in the afternoon. They got a bunch of dirty calls from people. "Why are you playing this crap? We're like 70 years old. We want to watch musicals or westerns or whatever." So you got to. TCM's probably got like an ancient demographic or whatever. But by ancient, it's kind of we're getting, well, we're not there yet, but in a few, whatever, so we like this crap, As a matter of fact, right now I was watching, I had PFink in the background, and I just left it on. Now it just turned into Elvira's Movie Macabre. So they got Elvira's Movie Macabre on. I go, oh, cool, yeah. So YouTube is the best. If there's anything that I would call like USA or all that stuff, it would be YouTube right now until they ruin it.
And Daily Motion has a lot of good stuff too.
The thing about Daily Motion is wow, Elvira used to look really good. Boy.
I know, it's distracting, isn't it?
I noticed that in Daily Motion, like, what was that movie that you watched on there last time? I can't remember what it was, but it was in 2 parts. So they do it in...
Mine was in 1 part.
Oh, no, I saw it in 2 parts. What was the... I can't even remember the last movie that we did, but that was... I found it on Daily Motion, and it was in 2 parts. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that'll do. I can't... I don't know if it was Hannah, Queen of Vampires. It was one of those. I can't remember right now. But and there's some movies on YouTube where back in the day, remember, you couldn't upload more than 10 or 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
So people will still have them in 9 parts. No, I won't do that. But I have looked on Daily Motion though, so I mean, that's not bad. YouTube's still the king though. But the thing about YouTube is things come and go. People claim ownership, or they, they rat you out and you got to take it down or whatever, So
some people try to be crafty and they'll show like only part of the movie. Like there was the one we watched last, with Vincent Price.
The Haunted Palace, that was it. It was in 2 parts.
One on, and literally the left and lower quarter of the screen were cut out.
Yeah.
And I think that was trying to beat the algorithms to see if you're showing copyright movies or something. I can watch the movie like this. You're not seeing half part of the action. So.
It was the Haunted Palace. When I found it on Daily Motion, it was in 2 parts. I don't know why.
That's weird.
I don't know. I guess it depends on what search engine you use, but I found it on there. It was in part 1 and part 2, and I'm like, okay.
That's another thing. Sometimes you look for a movie, and there's like this one. I found one Ratfinker Guggle. It said "Rip Deep from DVD," but there was another one, and it had a slightly different running time. And then there was a third one that it also had a different running time. So you have to sometimes be careful what you look at, because that copy looked more crappy than the one ripped from the DVD. This one ripped from the DVD was pretty good looking. Yeah,
somebody went on YouTube, and they got a lot of these Elviras, and they just uploaded them on there from the DVD, so they look pretty good on the television, So I'm like, oh, okay. But they were released on DVD, like, I don't know, 15 years ago. I got them somewhere, But at any rate,
I don't mind like Elvira. I don't mind the horror hosts who make fun of the movies in between commercial breaks. But MS and Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, I don't like that stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes they wanted to watch the movie, and sometimes they're funny. But sometimes they wanted to watch the movie without them interrupting.
Sometimes they're funny.
Yeah.
But they get annoying after a while. You said exactly. I want to watch the movie. I'll make fun of the movie. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I'll make fun of the movie myself. I don't need you.
So anyway, Ratfinker Boo Boo. If you're in the mood for something out there, way out there, I think go for it. It's only 70 minutes of your life. It's not.
Good movie. It was fun and entertaining. Better than you think it would be based on the title.
Yeah. And check out all the other Steckler movies. They're equally as bizarre. Now,
Yeah.
the Incredibly Strange Creatures who died and became mixed-up zombies, that one was released on a professional video. That one I
Oh, was
remember
it?
buying at a video store. That one was, and also the Thrill Killers. But I think that the funny thing about the Thrill Killers was I have like one of those big clamshell of it. They take a picture, a gore cover on it, like a picture of somebody like getting like popped over the head and bloody and all that. It made it look like a gore movie. And boy, when you get to the movie, it's not a gore movie. It's a good movie. It's an action-packed movie, but it's not a gore movie. So it's kind of like, but that's the way, that's the way they did it in the old video store. They would show you a hell of a package, and you go, oh, this is gonna be gory and great, and it's like, no, it's an old movie.
Well, when an actor would get big, this is another thing we used to do with videos and some DVDs. When an actor would get big, if he had a good part in the movie, they would, put the name of the movie, like, Monster Week or whatever, starring like Sylvester Stallone. And he had like one scene where he's like a cashier or a guy talking on the phone.
Yeah.
So it's just to get you to buy the movie. Oh, Stallone! And then you watch the whole movie. Where the hell was Stallone?
Well, they did that after a while with Death Race 2000.
Yes.
He's in it. So after Rocky came out, they would promote the fact that it was Stallone, and he does have a, he was an important character. He's our buddy Mao's favorite actor in the movie,
Yes.
but he's not the star,
No.
but it's like starring Sylvester Stallone,
But these are even worse, where he's literally not even an important character. You may see him in one
in a party
scene.
scene.
Yeah, the party scene.
That was like, okay, going into the Wayback Machine, there was a, back in the 70s, I remember there was a midnight show, and they were going to show some action movie or some biker movie, and I remember the promotion was, see Linda Ronstadt as you've never seen her before. I'm like, oh, really? In whatever movies it was, Savages from Hell, I don't know what the name of the movie was. But me and my friends, we had nothing better to do, so we actually drove down to the Miami Beach to see this movie. There ain't no Linda Ronstadt in that movie. Sorry. It was just what do they call it, a hype, ballyhoo, whatever, but whatever, it was something to do when you're like 17 years old and have a car and freedom and,
Yeah, you're looking to do something on a
Saturday night or Friday or Saturday night, yeah, so that's the way it goes. So.
You gotta do something.
So anyway, I was going to introduce the show at the end, but I think you all know what this show is anyway. It's the Destination Nightmare, B-movie podcast, and that's Roddy over there sitting there, and the cat was here for a while, but she went away.
On the ottoman sleeping.
Oh, she is sleeping? Oh, okay, so...
She's a Ray Dennis Steckler fan.
Well, maybe next time or whatever, but I'm going to pick a real stinker next time. A real stinker.
That's good.
Maybe painful, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll find out soon enough,
Okay, yeah, we'll find out.
So, So what else? I've got the B-Movie podcast and the Destination Nightmare and the Facebook page, and Roddy will do custom paintings for you.
For a price.
For a price. It's not for free. He will do them for you in acrylics, and they're very good.
Thank you.
So, in case you're interested, but I don't know what else to say, except watch more B-movies. Hey, we got it this time. We got it. Synchronicity. That's right.
Yeah.
The end.
All right.